Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashto Tirashatashishi Mother's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashto Tirashatashishi Mother's Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we were reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, entitled The Creative Impetus, Chapter 7, The Activities of King Bharat. We're on text 7. Okay, I'll just read the English. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the Supersoul, Paramatma. as well as than personal Brahman. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman as the Supreme Absolute Truth, and devotees worship Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described as in the Shastras. His body is decorated with the Srivatsa, the Kaustubha jewel, and a flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narada always think of him within their hearts. Purport. Lord Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is manifest within the hearts of yogis in his Paramatma feature, and he is worshipped as impersonal Brahman by Jnanis. The Paramatma feature is described in the Shastras as having 4 hands, holding disc, conch shell, lotus flower, and club, as confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 8. Kechit sudehantar hridayava yakashe pradeshamatram purusham vasantam chaturbujam kanjaratangas shanka kadadaram darayanaya smaranti. Paramatma is situated in the hearts of all living beings. He has 4 hands which hold 4 symbolic weapons. All devotees who think of the Paramatma within the heart worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. They also understand the personal features of the Lord and his bodily rays, the Brahman effulgence. I think you turn this off. I think you turn this off. Om Jnanativedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanamilitamnena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhakam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tekirim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditadanam Vancha Kapadribishcha Kripa Sindhubivicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. You have your phone, Mowgli? Okay. I'm trying. Do you think you could look up? There's a reference in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that I'm looking for. Prabhupada says when chanting Hare Krishna, you shouldn't make a hissing sound. Shouldn't make a hissing sound. It should be there. There shouldn't be too much hissing in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so it should be easy to find. I don't think Prabhupada talks about hissing very much, but. So this Hare Krishna. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes earlier in the Bhagavatam that there's 3 aspects to the absolute truth: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti, Shabhyate. So Brahman, effulgence, which is the effulgence, the bodily rays of Krishna, where then personalists want to merge. And then there's the Paramatma feature. It's in everyone's heart, Krishna. And then there's Bhagavan, the personal aspect, Shamasundar. So in this particular verse we read today, it's talking how the different transcendentalists, they focus on different aspects of the absolute truth. Whereas the Vaishnavas, they don't focus on the Brahman effulgence, but they're concerned or they're interested or attached to Shamasundar, the personal feature. So then personalists, they only have a partial understanding, whereas the Vaishnavas have a full understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now I'll read another one, text age. All right, let's take Destiny fixed the time for Maharaj Bharat's enjoyment of material opulence at 1,000 times 10,000 years. So, yeah. When that period was finished, he retired from family life and divided the wealth he had received from his forefathers among his sons. He left his paternal home, the reservoir of all opulence, and started for Pula Ashram, which is situated in Hardwar. The Shaligram Shilas are obtainable there. Purport. According to the law of Dayabak, when one inherits an estate, he must hand it over to the next generation. Bharata Maharaj did this properly. First, he enjoyed his paternal property for 1,000 times 10,000 years. At the time of his retirement, he divided this property among his sons and left for Pulaha Ashram. So did you find that reference? All right. I could ask it for you later because I'm just going to. So this particular verse that we just read, 8, this was reminding me of when I read it, preparing for this class, that remind me of Rajendranandana Prabhu. And why is that? This particular verse and purports saying that Bharata Maharaj, he retired, right? He had a certain amount of time and then he retired, left to Pulaha Ashram. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that when one inherits an estate, he must hand it over to the next generation. So Rajendranandana Prabhu was always very interested and enthusiastic to let other devotees step up to the plate, as the American saying goes, right? I'm talking about a baseball game. Step up to the plate. In other words, he felt that, the next generation not only was enthusiastic, but he would vocally encourage and practically encourage devotees to do that. For example, stepping up to the plate would be, that can mean so many things, but one is for devotees to lead kirtan. That's stepping up to the plate, right? For devotees to give class, for devotees to say Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, right? To chant those prayers. For devotees to do any type of thing which is requiring that they take on more responsibility. Because amongst the junior devotees, there may be a tendency, okay, we'll let the senior devotees take care of it. I'm just a junior man, which in some ways could be, in many ways is a good attitude, right? Like, for example, in terms of instructing people, if the spiritual master is there, then the disciples, they should let the spiritual master answer. Not that they, jump up with a question. But on the other hand, this could be a very crippling mentality. Oh, let the senior devotees do it. Let the senior devotees do it. I'll just be a baby and I won't step up and do anything, right? That could be very crippling spiritually. And then people wonder why when important personalities leave, right? Whether it's leaving the planet or leaving somehow or other leaving, then everybody's confused. They don't know what to do. Why? Because they were never given the opportunity. Largely because they didn't take it. So, and then amongst the senior devotees, sometimes there is a tendency also to do that. Oh, we'll take care of it, we'll take care of it, we'll take care of it. We won't let the junior devotees do it. But they should be very eager to let the junior devotees do it. Why? Because how else will they learn if they don't do it? If you just see the spiritual master giving class all the time, and you never give class, you'll practically speaking, you won't learn how to give class unless you do it. You have to do it. Or like book distribution. See all the senior devotees distributing books. You won't learn how to do it unless you actually do it. unless you actually go out on the field and engage in it. Just like I was distributing books with Brigupati Prabhu in Los Angeles. And I was observing him for a number of days, actually. I was assisting him because we were going shop to shop, opening Hispanic areas. And I didn't really know, I don't know Spanish now, but I didn't even know enough to distribute a book. But he did. So I was a little shy in general, but I was watching him distribute books in Spanish. And after some days, he said, "All right, now you have to do it." So, no more watching. You have to do it. Yeah. So, okay, to hear, to watch, to learn, it's fine. But there's a point where the devotees have to step up. And he was very encouraged in that regard. So it's a good quality to have. If one becomes a senior devotee, then they should be very encouraging with others, try to help them, encourage them. Also, Tirtha Maharaj was he's also very encouraged in that regard. Just as a side note. I didn't lead the Kirtan Sunday feast for some years. And then I remember after they tried me out for the Guru Puja many times and Harinam many times, they thought I was okay to sing that Sunday feast. I remember one time at the Sunday feast, there's a good number of devotees, people in the temple room, and then Tirtha Maharaj, he hands me the mic. He says, "All right." He didn't tell me before. It was like that minute. He said, "All right, here's the mic. Go for it." So it's good to encourage, so we can learn that, from him. So just as Bharata Maharaja here, he handed over to the next generation. So that's something that those who become senior devotees, those who have to hand over to the next generation. And those of us who are, junior devotees, we have to accept. We have to accept the responsibilities. And just reflecting on Rajendranandana Prabhu, I was reflecting on one of the first times I met him, or the first kind of remembrances of him from years ago. I joined the temple, and I started distributing books practically immediately because that's what everybody else was doing. Madhu Mangal and those of you who know him, Giraj Gopal and Tota Gopinath and others, they're all distributing books. So naturally, what was I going to do? Stay here at the temple while everybody's out on book distribution? I went out with them. So I remember going out with them on book distribution, and we went to Escondido Mall. It's like a 3-story mall, actually, I think. So we were distributing books, undercover, pants and shirt, and December marathon time, walking around with our shopping bag full of books. It was a, Macy's bag or whatever, full of Prabhupada's books. So we're walking around there, just, stopping people, making sure the security guard's not nearby. You usually get kicked out of those places without a doubt, but we could stay for some time. So we're all there, walking around distributing books. I was with Tota Gopinath, and then I remember seeing Rajendranandana Prabhu there. And he was, he was a grihastha, so he was doing what he had to do, right? It means that grihastha ashrams, all ashrams are a place of responsibility, but devotees who plan to enter the grihastha ashram or whatever, it's not easy. It's not, brahmacharya life is so difficult, let me be a grihastha. Well, it's going to be difficult as a grihastha as well. You got to work very, very hard, especially nowadays. So, anyways, he was doing that. He was working hard at the mall there, and he had a stand. And he was a salesman. That was his profession. That's what he did for many, many years. So he was selling some, I forgot what it was, some stuffed animals or something. So, So then Tota Gopinath comes up to him and, Rajendranandana Prabhu, and, like this, pranams, and then, Rajendranandana Prabhu embraces him, and they're smiling. And he, he's very happy, Rajendranandana Prabhu, to see Tota Gopinath, myself, and other devotees distributing books, but at the time I practically just joined the temple, and I didn't really know him as much as I was able to know him, as the years go by. So I didn't really know him. I didn't have much of a relationship with him. But Tota Gopinath did. You can see they had a nice, close relationship. They're both very happy to see each other. So, and that was another great characteristic that he had, is that he was very happy in general as a person or as a devotee, but he's also very happy to see devotees. And thinking about it, I actually, there's other devotees who are happy to see other devotees as well, right? Obviously. But looking back on it, he was very happy to see devotees, like really happy. And, smiling and kind words and all that. And that's another great quality that we could try to follow, to be happy, to see devotees, and to express it, to express that happiness, which he was also another very grateful, extremely grateful person. In that he practically whenever devotees would associate with him, whenever there was some exchange, he was very grateful for it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Always saying thank you. Which it wasn't just like a cheap kind of sentimental, thank you, like you get a Hallmark card or something. Thank you very much, from some corporate monster, mainly your boss, right? Thank you very much for being our employee. Of course, maybe there's some corporate monsters who are a little less monstrous, but anyways, you get the idea. It wasn't a cheap, superficial, sentimental thank you. He actually meant it. And of course, if he was sitting here in class, he'd probably say, why are you talking about me? Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. So I remember one time I was here giving class, and I started praising him. And I knew that he wasn't going to like it because I prepared for class, and I knew he wasn't going to like it. And I knew he was probably going to say something to me. Why are you praising me in class? So I came prepared. So I started praising him about something, and there was a good number of devotees in class, and then he raised his hand, I think, during class or maybe afterwards, and he said, "Oh, there's an instruction in the Nectar Devotion. It says you shouldn't praise people before the deities." So then I said, "Yes, that's true." I came prepared. I said, "Yes, that's true. But I have an exchange to share with you from Srila Prabhupada." And I said that Srila Prabhupada was traveling and with his devotees in India. And one devotee, he started to praise another devotee in front of Srila Prabhupada's deities, which Srila Prabhupada traveled with Radha Krishna deities. And then this devotee said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so sorry. I'm praising this devotee in front of your deities." And Prabhupada said, No, that's okay." He said, "Oh, Krishna, he gets so much praise. He's happy when his devotees are praised." So then I told him that. He said, "Okay." So I came prepared. So yeah, he was very happy to see devotees, and as in the Grihastha ashram, it was a good system he had. He really thought about it. He really thought about it. He said, based on his nature, based on his whatever you want to call it, karma or whatever, he had the nature to. He didn't live in the ashram as a brahmachari. He lived in the Grihastha ashram. So he thought that, okay, well, that is my nature, so let me best utilize it for Krishna consciousness. So, okay, let me work hard, because that's what a Grihastha has to do. And that's what he did to maintain his wife, who didn't work, Chatura, and his son, Aja. So, but he would work for 6 months out of the year, very hard, like really hard actually, like 12-hour days, salesman, here and there all over around America. He didn't get much association with devotees usually. And then he'd spend time in Mayapur, India, right? Holy place. He has a place there, apartment. And he would relish the association of devotees in the Dham. Very intelligent, actually. And he would travel, do the Navadvip Mandala Parikrama, give so many nice talks there. The 7-day, right? 7-day Parikrama around Navadvip, the holy places in Mayapur. And he knew the pastimes very well. Which is another thing. I mean, he was attached to the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was attached to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, to the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, to all these wonderful books. He really had attachment. And aside from having attachment, he would scrutinizingly study the pastimes and like have them like imprinted in his mind. And then he would repeat. He would repeat to all the devotees. It's a great service and great detail. And many of those are recorded. Navadvip Mandala Parikramas. Actually, practically all of them are, because that's what, video recordings and so on. So that's another thing, to become attached to chanting, to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, the holy names. He was so adamant about just focusing on the holy name. Really focusing. And I remember he told me this one time that he was in Mayapur years ago, and he told me that he was in japa time, and he was a little tired, so he's fallen asleep a little bit. And he told me that one, I think he's German. What's that? Is that devotee Bhakti Vaibhava Swami? He's from Germany, yeah. So Bhakti Vaibhava Swami got really upset with him. And he, in his German accent, said, "What are you doing? You're sleeping. You're supposed to be chanting." Like Maharaj, like really like. And Rajendranandana Prabhu said, really, kind of startled him. So that was a point where he, of course, he was taking it seriously. He was tired or whatever when you get tired, but he kind of increased his endeavors. And, you're tired? Okay, stand up. That's what Srila Prabhupada said, right? Stand up, walk. One devotee told me one time, you're sitting down and falling asleep during japa. He said, "Oh, that's suicidal. Just stand up, walk." Or if we're really tired, maybe just go back to sleep. Of course, kind of try to stay away from that. But so yeah, he was very serious about chanting the holy names here in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And also just reminding about a point of etiquette which he brought up to me. He said that he was in Mayapur one time. And in Mayapur, like here, we hardly see any sannyasis. It's like America's like sannyasi, almost sannyasis are extinct or something. Of course, they're coming through, but we want to increase them. But anyways, there are some. But in Mayapur, especially during the festival time, Gaur Purnim, it's just like sannyasis everywhere. Because it's the GBC meetings and holy Gaur Purnim, a lot of devotees come. So you'll see like 20 sannyasis for the morning program or something. So, it's a lot of obeisances, right? Bowing down, bowing down, bowing down. So one time Rajendranandana Prabhu told me that to one sannyasi, I forgot who it was, Rajendranandana Prabhu saw him come in and he just, kind of did pranam and he put his hand on the ground and kind of, touched his head, And this sannyasi came up to him and not in a puffed up way, not in a proud way, not in an arrogant way, just in a way of instruction for the principle of maintaining, what Srila Prabhupada wants and so on. As a friend, he came up to him and he said, "Oh, Prabhuji, I not," whatever he said in essence, but he said, as a matter of principle, we respect those who are sannyasis as mendicants, as renounced. And for the principle of culture, it's good if you offer your obeisances as a principle of respecting renunciation, which nowadays is such a, who respects renunciation, right? What to speak of materialistic society, but even amongst devotee society, who respects? So it's important to try to understand the importance of renunciation and to respect it practically. So he said that to him, and Rajendranandana Prabhu after that followed. So yeah, he was very open, very open to discussion, to listen, to work things out with people, difficulties and so on. And he was very, like they say in the spiritual master, the spiritual master is soft as a rose and hard as a thunderbolt. So, although he was very open and very kind and willing to help, to speak, to communicate, just like soft, like a rose. I remember when my spiritual master's book came out, that Juhu book, he was getting in his car, he was across the street, and I ran up and I gave him that book. And then he was, he's crying, and he said, "Oh, thank you very much, Balaram." He said, "Oh, you're such a nice devotee." And I'm not repeating that to, paint myself as a nice devotee, because I'm not. But he said that, and, it's very soft, like a rose. But also, hard as a thunderbolt. Very hard, actually. And specifically, I remember a number of times, but I remember one specific time, which we're wrapping up soon. We're going to end soon, this class, so if there's any questions or comments. But I remember one time I led kirtan here, and in general, his kindness, his, seeing the good, he told me, and, Chatur told me, he appreciated my kirtans, which was nice of him, He would tell me after kirtan, also very grateful. He would tell me, "Oh, this kirtan, it got us off the bodily conception of life." I say that often. And anyways, but after one particular kirtan, which had only happened once, in this particular case, what I'm going to bring up, but I don't know, maybe it happened more with myself, but this particular case when he was here, I led a kirtan, and then afterwards, instead of, coming up to me and saying, "Oh, it really got us at the bodily conception of life," and, praising me to Chatura, saying, "Oh, when Balaram chants, he's really, tries to really focus and tries to forget about everything else and this and that." So instead of saying things like that, he came up to me. He was really angry. And with great force and great just intensity, just extreme intensity, extreme force, extreme anger, he said, "What were you thinking leading that kirtan?" He said, you were chanting Hare Krishna, but you weren't chanting Hare Krishna properly. You were messing up the mantra. You were what is it called? Mutilating. You were messing up the mantra. What were you thinking? And then he started to mock me. How I was chanting. Very intensely, very just chastising me quite strongly. So he did that, and he went on for a while. It's kept on. It wasn't just 30 seconds. He kept on, hammering the nail in, to my consciousness. "Hey, wake up, buddy." So then the night goes on, and then I'm in the gift shop, and Chatur's there, and he's there, and they're getting ready to leave. And then he brings it up again, and he starts mocking me again, really intensely. And then Chatura tells him, "Okay, hey, Rajendranandana Prabhu, it's okay, that's enough, like when you're, like in a fight, right? And you're knocking someone on the ground, and the referee's, all right, that's enough." He's got the point. So maybe it's her motherly nature. Of course, it's, women in general, right? Women sometimes have the nature, right, of... But, like Prabhupada said that about Srimati Radharani, for example. It's a soft counterpart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So she said, okay. But he was really, nailing the point, which I always remembered after that, and I specifically, made it a point when chanting Hare Krishna, Kirtan, and Japa, to chant properly. It's important, right? Like Prabhupada said with one of his great devotees, actually, one of his early wonderful devotees, great disciples in terms of Kirtan and devotion and so on. This disciple was not chanting the mantra properly. And then Prabhupada commented, what are you going to do? You're going to ruin the movement. Something to that degree. And then Prabhupada said, who is this Ramo? Who is this Ramo? Prabhupada said. Because Rama, right? We say Rama. We don't say Ramo. So there's so many ways. Of course, it sounds kind of like a silly thing. Oh, how are you going to mess up the mantra when you're chanting kirtan? Oh, well, it's very possible. Ramo, right? Or whatever it might be. Prabhupada said, who is this Ramo? Or just like, devotees, they have this thing, a devotee leaves his body and he's been chanting Hare Krishna his whole life and kirtan and japa. Shnik, shnik, ram, ram, shnik, shnik, ram, ram, or whatever. Which, by the way, Rama, right? Rama, Hari Rama, it's that long A, but Rama, it's, the reservoir of pleasure. But Rama, you know what that means? That's referring to sexual, the whole mood of sexuality, Rama. So, Rama. So, Srimad Prabhu commented one time, said, "Oh, sometimes that might be the problem, So, anyway, shnik, shnik, ram, ram. So this devotee, he died, right? And then he went to this planet. And of course, he's expecting to go back to Godhead and everything, right? And he sees these two ugly, fierce personalities. He says, "Oh my, who are you?" And the guy says, "I'm Shnik." What do you mean? You've been chanting my name your whole life, Here I am. Give me a big embrace, right? So you have to be careful. So you have that reference? We'll just end with that reference. Yes. No, you could give it to me, please. Okay. So. Oh my God! Look at this devotee. I guess this is. Where's the verse?
Oh, the verse.
And the purport.
Oh, and the okay, it's here.
Anyways, he gave me this very interesting. This devotee is like chanting, but it's like like you see it in a cartoon with the music coming out of his mouth. But anyways, okay. So here's the verse and the purport. Yes. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 17, text 32. Urdhva Bahu Kari. Okay. Translate. Raising my hands. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? Or is it Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Raising my hands, I declare, everyone please hear me. It's an exclamation mark. String this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. So this is Tranadapi Sunichena Torapi Suhishna. To be as humble as a blade of grass and as tall as a tree, to offer all respects to others and expect none for oneself. And then one could chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. Purport. So we should wear it on our necks. When chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, in the beginning one may commit many offenses, which are called Namabhas and Nam Aparad. In this stage, there is no possibility of achieving perfect love of Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Therefore, one must chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to the principles of the above verse. Trinadapi Sunichena Tororo Eva Sahishnuna. One should note in this connection that chanting involves the activities of the upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. So upper and lower lips as well as the tongue. All three must be engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The words Hare Krishna should be very distinctly pronounced and heard. Sometimes one mechanically produces a hissing sound, instead of chanting with the proper pronunciation with the help of the lips and tongue. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. Therefore, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, advises everyone to keep this verse always strung about his neck. So, does anybody have any questions?
Hare Krishna?
Yes, you could ask.
Yes, Balaram Prabhu, thank you very much. You're very kind. Prabhu, related to the passing of Rajendranandana Prabhu, who gave me his mercy, related to the answers he gave to my questions when he was giving daily Srimad Bhagavatam classes in your Sangha. Prabhu, my question is related to approaching a senior advanced devotee like Rajendrana Prabhu, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, devotees like Dravida Prabhu, devotees like also a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, devotees like you yourself, if I may say it. I find you very, in the good sense, very intimidating. I'm always afraid of asking a question from you because I find you very advanced, very knowledgeable, and maybe you would be there interpreting my question as stupid or something of the sort. So, because I'm not as advanced as you are in knowledge and in other devotional aspects. So, Prabhu, when I am trying to approach usually at the very end of the class is the devotee asks for, like you just did, asks for questions and comments, corrections, and the participants of the Sangha, they may choose for presenting their questions. But while doing that, because they know they are dealing with a very advanced devotee, they try to kill as much as possible their own individuality in order to appear as with proper Vaishnava behavior related to observing Vaishnava etiquette because of dealing with a powerful Vaishnava, an empowered Vaishnava, who is asking for relevant questions. So my question is, in what measure, while approaching an advanced devotee and presenting myself with a relevant question and observing Vaishnava etiquette, should I be there killing my own individuality? Is it that all the devotees asking questions from advanced devotees should be there being copies of each other? Isn't that the saying is that variety is the mother of pleasure?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for your question.
You're welcome.
Well, there's I'm thinking about Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Sridhar Swami, who many devotees may not know him, maybe not even his name, but a great devotee of Srila Prabhupada. Joined early, served as a brahmachari, then served as a sannyasi, and very humorous, very funny. They used to call him the Jolly Swami, just very happy person. Like one time, later in his life he had cancer, and I believe his stomach became very bloated. So he was there in Mayapur. And devotees were thinking it could be his last, whatever he said could be his last words. So it was a very intense scene there. So he was there, and many devotees were surrounding his bed, and then the doctor, a doctor came and was giving his analysis of his condition and looking at his stomach, his bloated stomach. And then Maharaj was there, and Sridhar Swami was there, and he had his eyes closed, and it was very serious, right? Everything was very serious, and the doctor saying this and that, and then And again, his bloated stomach, right? So then, all of a sudden, Maharaj, he opens his eyes, and he looks at the doctor, he looks at the devotees, and he said, I think it's a boy. That he's pregnant, but I think it's a boy. So all the devotees started laughing. So anyways, I'm thinking about Sridhar Swami in his particular statement. What a great statement he made, actually. He said, be yourself, of course, means your spiritual self, means yourself will manifest more and more and more with the pure, serious practice of Krishna consciousness. Doesn't mean be yourself is like, like in a mundane sense, but in a spiritual sense. Be yourself and make your own contribution. So, like for example, I'm also thinking about Rajendra Prabhu. He dressed a certain way, right? Which no one else dressed like that in ISKCON. I didn't exactly know the details, but it was like an interesting configuration of some type of chadar, dhoti combined thing, right? Anyways, so then one devotee one day, one of his friends and followers, and you could say disciples, Shiksha disciples, he shows up to the 24-hour kirtan dressed as Rajendra Prabhu. And Rajendra Prabhu noticed it, obviously. And Rajendra Prabhu told him, hey Prabhu, you be me, excuse me, you be you, and I'll be myself, I'll be me, right? In other words, no need to imitate at all in any way, shape or fashion, practically. What to speak of, So naturally, we do pick up some of our peers, some of our senior devotees, maybe mannerisms or characteristics just from association, right? Maybe not imitating just by nature. Maybe we pick some things up. But there's something to say about be yourself and make your own contribution. And Rajendranandana Prabhu is also a very great example of this. He expressed his individuality. He wasn't a cookie cutter Hare Krishna, right? Wasn't a robot Hare Krishna. In the sense of so many things, his humor and so on. When asking questions or when practicing Krishna consciousness in general, we don't want to kill our individuality. That's not the point at all, to kill our individuality. We all are individuals. But I would say that the underlying principle behind asking a question or behind approaching a senior devotee is that we may express our individuality, right? But the underlying principle behind that is our humility, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, right? We have to string it on our neck. And aside from our humility, it's just our Krishna consciousness. So that should be the underlying principle. So you add humility, you add Krishna consciousness, and then be yourself. And Srila Prabhupada liked devotees to different... Prabhupada related with different people differently. It's not that everybody was the same relating to Srila Prabhupada. Like one devotee, Vishal, for example, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, who also left his body some time ago, but Vishal, each time Srila Prabhupada would come back from his walk in Vrindavan, Vishal would go out there and he would start praising Prabhupada with all of these Sanskrit shlokas and like long praises, like very long. We may bow down and Nama Om Vishnu Padaya and get up, but he was having like a string of shlokas praising Prabhupada. And Prabhupada accepted it. Once, twice, three. He was accepting and generally accepted it. Then at one particular point, Prabhupada told him, he said, you're giving me all this praise. He said, why don't you go do something practical? Or Prabhupada would accept, for example, Vishal, like in the middle of a program, like life members everywhere, this and that. Vishal would just more or less barge in the room, go to the front and start praising Prabhupada in his books. Yes, Prabhupada's so great, this and that, very enthusiastic. And then he would say, take Prabhupada's books. And Prabhupada was happy with it. He accepted it. Or another example I'm thinking of is when Srila Prabhupada was in a life member's home, Tamal Krishna Goswami was there, a few other devotees. I think they just finished prasadam or something, and Prabhupada was there. Then all of a sudden, these Maharajas, elderly Maharajas, they barge in the room and they start playing some type of instrument, some stringed instruments and this and that. And they start chanting Hare Krishna spontaneously. And then Prabhupada was just smiling. He was very happy. He was appreciative of it. Where other devotees were going, oh, this is kind of like, maybe out of etiquette or this and that. And then Prabhupada said, oh, they're spontaneous Vaishnavas. He said, you have to try for it. He said, they're spontaneous. And Prabhupada accepted it. So devotees, senior devotees, the spiritual master, others, they accept our devotion in whatever way it manifests. But the underlying principle should be humility and Krishna consciousness. So yeah, we're not into
Balaram Prabhu, if I may say it, you just gave me again a spectacular answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. All right, yes, Amogalila Prabhu.
Just for the sake of churning the nectar, you mentioned how Rajendranandana Prabhu, he was very happy to see devotees all the time. And anyway, I remember one time we were at the Panihati festival in Laguna Beach, and I think he hadn't seen Vaisheshika Prabhu for a little while, and he was really. I think there was also at one point he was going to see Vaisheshika Prabhu, and then somehow or other he didn't. But anyway, when I got to see them like reunite, and it was like something out of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was like super ecstatic, and like Rajendranandana Prabhu, he like, as soon as he saw him, he like roared, like that was when I like first like realized what the Chaitanya, what like Krishnadas Kaviraj is describing, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
What did he say, Haribol?
No, he literally roared. He was like, oh, and then he was crying, and they embrace, and it was just like so ecstatic just to see.
Yeah.
And so so just a little expansion on that. And then also another thing that another quality of Rajendranandana Prabhu that I appreciated was that he was very observant. Like he was very observant as to people's mood and like intention and kind of any kind of like lack of sincerity or any kind of pride or any kind of he was very quick to like he saw it and he just kind of cut it down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember one time I led the Guru Puja Kirtan, and then after we said the prayers, and then I just kind of I was a little nervous, and so I think it was anyway. And so I just kind of quietly said, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And he goes, huh? And then he looks at me and he goes, Srila Prabhupada ki jai! Like super ecstatic or super enthusiastic. So anyway, that's something I also appreciated about Rajendranandana Prabhu, is that he was very enthusiastic, and he was very observant as to people's anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Mr. Tyler.
Thank you for a wonderful emotional class that was commemorating Rajendranandana very nicely, Balaram.
Thank you.
Very nectar-filled. I had a reflection, and then I had a question for you.
Okay.
And the reflection's more, especially for the young bhaktas that maybe didn't have so much relationship with Rajendranandana, kind of what we can glean from his essence. I visited last year for a while in January, and then in March, I was here when the temple was shut down for COVID. Remember, he said, you can stay. He says you can stay, but if you go, got to wait till it opens back up.
Yeah.
So I watched the live stream all the time, and that's when I started seeing this lion of a speaker. Wow, these classes are different. I get excited when it was his time to go. Yeah. And actually, I'd have to adjust the volume on my computer because he gets so loud, and exuberant. And I remember when I first showed up here in April, I checked in with Dravida, and he's okay, well, what brought you down now? I was like, well, part of it's these classes by Rajendranandana. So he was always checking in with me. You liking his classes? You liking his classes? Mm. So as a young brahmachari now, it's difficult that first month or two getting up and staying awake during, morning program. So one reflection on class and one reflection about kirtan. In class, I'm here to watch him give class. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I'm here, and I'm dozing off during the class, right? So he would give the best nudges. He had that laser beam focus as a speaker. He could tell if you were just starting to drift. Like he was like a referee in a boxing match, being like, all right, am I gonna have to call this? Am I gonna have to step in? So it began with real gentle nudges, like, you're looking real cozy over there. You're looking real, to then like, stand if you need to. At the end, he's going, come on, stick with me. Stick with me. You're almost there, So, and one thing, I've shared it with a couple of the bhaktas. I mean, this is kind of metaphysical, but when he would do that, I'd get this like rush. Like, I'd be embarrassed, but I'd also get this like, I'm likening it right now to like a marathon runner who at like mile 17, he's like, here's your drink. Keep going. You can do it. Here's your water, So I think these senior devotees are like that, right? We're running a marathon and they're there at mile 17, 18 with the go-gurt or the, whatever we need to take it real quickly and keep running the path.
Yeah.
So he was really good at that, keeping me awake during Bhagavatam and doing so nicely. Then the other part, and this is much quicker, during the kirtan in the morning, if I wasn't dancing, and I like to dance, it's kind of how I get through the program in a way that's heartfelt, I'm either tired or in my head. And he knew that. So what he would do is if you're tired or in your head, you just stand still, basically. You look like a statue. He would come up to you without saying anything, and he would just go like this. Right next to you, he'd go. Kind of nudge. And then you would go, oh, that's right. And I'd point to my head every time. That's right. Yeah. So if you're ever finding yourself a statue doing kirtan, think of Rajendranandana coming up and nudging you. And at least we have one vocal person, though. It's Kanai Prabhu. When he comes in, he'll say, wake up, sleeping soul. So whenever you have someone telling you that during kirtan, let's try to remember Rajendranandana.
Jeev Jago.
Haribol. Oh, and the question was, how do we, now that we're doing personal reflections on a great soul such as Rajendranandana, how do we meditate or offer prayers now in these moments when he's just passed personally? Like, what are the kind of thoughts or moods we should be having inside when we miss him or want to glorify him? Do you have any way of us doing that more expertly or in a way that would reciprocate with the mood we're trying to express?
Well, I mean, everybody here has a different relationship with him, so I think it should be based on the relationship. Some of us have known him for longer or shorter periods, and we have, the certain nature to the relationship, right? But I think the general principle is just to try to learn, try to reflect, try to learn, try to it's like Tirthamarsh, he recently, because I told him of Rajendranandana Prabhu's state, and then Tirthamarsh made a video addressing him, Rajendranandana Prabhu. And anyways, you could watch that video. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but you could watch it. I'll send it to you, or you could find it. But it's a nice video. And he's referring to Rajendranandana Prabhu as his friend and his teacher. And he said that he doesn't want to at all compare himself to Rajendranandana Prabhu because Rajendranandana Prabhu is so senior to him and so on. But it's why I'm bringing that up. I'm not going to get into the details of the video, but Tirthamarsh, he accepted Rajendranandana Prabhu like a father figure, and I mean, in many ways, many times the Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru is like that, like a father figure or older brother figure, something like that. So, So the idea is that this verse that we discussed today, it's talking about, the next generation passing things on, right? So the idea is that the disciples, or the Shiksha disciples, or the devotees, who are friends and accepting certain personalities like Rajendranandana Prabhu as their teacher. The idea is to act in such a way and try to carry on things in such a way as the spiritual master would be pleased by. So that's the main thing. To Srila Rajendranandana Prabhu's Prabhupada man, very concerned, very concerned that ISKCON, San Diego, or ISKCON in general doesn't go off the rails in so many speculative ways, sticking to Prabhupada's order, his instructions. So that's the main thing. We want to act to make our spiritual master or personalities, spiritual masters, pleased. So that's what I was thinking about when I heard Tirtha Maharaj's video. One of the things that he accepted him as like a father figure, and naturally the son or the nephew or whatever you want to say, they want to make, like if he's like uncle or something, they want to make these particular devotees happy, proud of them. That's the idea. So whatever we've learned from him, and whatever we hear now, or there's going to be a service, they're going to be speaking about him, and maybe the classes we've heard or that we'll listen to, right? Just try to follow the general principles outlined, and with the idea of making him proud and others. So I would say that. Yeah. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.